You've been scrolling through a sea of specs and glossy ads, trying to figure out if there's a gaming laptop that won't feel like a glorified toaster when you actually sit down and play. You want something that's reliable enough to run the games you love, quiet enough not to drown out the in-game soundtrack, and worth the cash you're about to spend. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. I spent a few evenings with the Lenovo 15-inch gaming laptop, the one that's powered by an AMD Ryzen 5 7535HS and comes with 8 GB of DDR5 RAM, a 256 GB PCIe SSD, and a Full HD Plus screen. My goal was to see how it behaved when I moved from a quick just-an-Emmer-match session to a full-night raid marathon, and to weigh whether the price point makes sense compared with a desktop or a less aggressive notebook. First off, who should even consider this machine? If you're a casual gamer who mostly plays titles like Fortnite, Apex Legends, or indie RPGs at 1080p, and you also need a laptop that can handle work tasks, email, spreadsheets, a bit of photo editing, this is the sweet spot. The Ryzen 5 7535HS is a 6-core, 12-thread chip that sits comfortably in the mid-range bracket. Can push 1080p games to 60 frames per second in medium settings, and you'll see stable frame rates in most esports titles. If you're chasing ultra-high settings in the latest AAA releases, or you want to dabble in 1440p or 4K, you'll start feeling the limits. Now, who should walk away? If you're a competitive gamer who demands the highest refresh rates and low latency, or if you plan to run modern AAA games on max graphics for hours on end, this isn't the machine that will keep you in the sweet spot. The 8 GB of RAM is already on the edge for newer titles. You'll find yourself swapping out background apps or, better yet, upgrading the memory yourself if you can. And the 256 GB SSD fills up fast. Modern games can easily eat 100 GB each. You'll end up juggling external storage or an additional internal drive, which adds cost and hassle. Let's talk heat and fan noise, because that's where many budget gaming laptops either win or lose points. During my first 30-minute session of Elden Ring at 1080p medium, the chassis warmed up to a comfortable 85F. The fans spun up, producing a low grade where that you could hear but didn't dominate the room. After an hour of continuous play, the temperature crept up to the low 90s, and the fan speed increased, introducing a more noticeable hiss. It never became a grinding roar, but if you're in a quiet apartment or recording voiceovers, you'll want to keep a fan profile in mind or accept the acoustic trade-off. In contrast, when I switched to a lighter title like Stardew Valley, the fans barely kicked in, and the laptop stayed cool enough to rest my palms on the palm rest without sweating. Keyboard feel is another practical point. Lenovo kept the standard chiclet layout without backlighting, which means you're relying on ambient light or an external light source. The key travel is modest, about 1.4 mm, and the actuation feels decent for both gaming and typing. I didn't notice any ghosting during fast combo inputs, but the lack of RGB or at least a single-zone backlight could be a deal-breaker for those who love that visual flair. If you game mostly at night, you might need a cheap USB lamp to illuminate the keys. The 15.3-inch Full HD Plus display is one of the more pleasant surprises. The panel pushes 1080p with a slightly taller aspect ratio, giving a bit more vertical real estate for chat windows or spreadsheets. Color vibrancy is respectable for a laptop in this class. It's not a calibrated Adobe grade screen, but games look punchy, and the brightness peaks around 300 nits, which is enough for most indoor environments. Outdoor visibility drops off sharply, so you'll want to stick to indoor play or bring a shade if you're on a balcony. Battery life is a claim that always needs a reality check. Lenovo advertises all-day battery for gaming and productivity, and there's a grain of truth. When I switched the laptop to power-saving mode and used it for web browsing, document editing, and a bit of YouTube, I got roughly 7 hours of mixed use. Flip the switch to the gaming profile and launch a demanding title, and the runtime shrinks to around 90 minutes before the charger became a necessity. That's typical for laptops with a dedicated GPU, but it's worth noting if you plan to game on a coffee shop outlet without a power brick handy. Portability is a mixed bag. The chassis feels solid, with a magnesium-aluminum blend that keeps the weight around 2.2 kilograms, roughly 4.9 pounds. It's not a featherweight ultrabook you can toss in a pocket, but it's manageable enough to slip into a backpack for the commute. The 15-inch footprint means you'll still need a decent-sized bag, and the bottom vents can get a bit warm on the lap during long sessions, So a lap desk or cooling pad.